all audiences. Welcome to the South Burbs Hitmen podcast with your hosts, Joe Mandel, Steven Zim Zimmerman, and Vinnie Parisi. We're bringing you the White Sox coverage you need from the perspective of true Southsiders. Grab your Kaminsky dog with an ice cold beer and meet us in section 155. Everyone get on your feet for your South Burbs Hitmen.
That ball hit deep. Way back. You can put it on the board. Yes. Jimenez in the air. Left field. He's your hero tonight. Thanks, Cubs.
Over the head of Jenks. Uribe charges, throws. Out! And the White Sox have won the World Series.
Alexei. Yes! 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 History! A perfect game by Mark Burley, and what an unbelievable play by 21.
First pitch starts now.
What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another edition of South Burbs Hitmen. I'm one of your hosts, Joe Mandel. I'm joined, as always, by my White Sox brothers in arms. I'm talking about Vinnie Parisi and Steven Zim Zimmerman. And gentlemen, before we get to our guest tonight, the Sox lost today to Toronto 9-3. Eric Fetty gives up 5 earned runs over 6 innings pitched. Bullpen and offense had a hard time in this one, too. The Sox sink to a lowly 14-34. Vin and Zim, how are you, my friends?
Doing very good, Joe. It's another tough loss for the White Sox. They gave up some runs to a highly gifted offensive Toronto Blue Jays team. I almost said Toronto Maple Leafs team. That's where my head's at.
Hockey.
But they stink too. But, they were able to get, some runs on the White Sox and try to turn their season around because they're not doing too hot either.
No, absolutely. And one quick dip in with Zim before we get to our guest of honor. But Steven Zim Zimmerman, you have had a week, to say the least, a week and change. How are you?
Oh, it's great. Yep. We did miss last week's show, partially my fault because I have done some kind of fracture to my arm, possibly more damage than that. We'll find out soon, but pain has subsided, so I'm here now and basically just ready for physical therapy. That's all it's going to take at this point. So there's no reason I can't come on and still talk about the White Sox. So, I'm in just as much physical pain as you all are emotional pain now.
Wow, that's I don't know what's more depressing, Zim, that sentence or the White Sox season this far.
I have to say, all things considered, we knew they were going to be pretty rough. Anybody who thought that they were going to be, we were all ripping on Chris Getz for trying to sell us that this was going to be a competitive ball club. So we all kind of knew to some extent this was going to happen. But to now be at the point that we're at, I think overall it could be worse. Yeah. And I know I say this as they're coming off, 4 straight losses.
They're amazing.
What is this? 6 out of their last 7 losses, but this team put together a 4-game win streak, which who would have thought we'd have seen that? So they were above 500 over a 25-game stretch. Who would have thought we'd see that at any point this year? So, there are small victories here, even though they may not be worth celebrating.
I like that, Zim. And this is not a small victory. It's a huge victory. We have a fantastic guest tonight. Vinnie, I'll let you introduce him, and we'll bring him on.
We are bringing on a Chicago White Sox fan / radio / everything you could think of legend. Of course, we're talking about CHGO's Herb Lawrence. Herb, how you doing, my friend?
Doing well, guys. Thank you for having me. Sorry about the atmosphere here in a parking lot right now after a softball game, but I appreciate you guys having me on again.
Herb, you're one of the best. We've had people come in on all of our shows across the network. I've had people do it from coffee shops, cars. David Kaplan did it while walking his dog.
That's right.
It doesn't matter. We appreciate it very much. Anytime anybody's able to come in and give their insight, we know you do great work for CHGO. How are things doing at the old CHGO lately?
We're doing well. I mean, of course, the White Sox show is not really dependent on the White Sox performance. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing as well. So we're finding new ways of just talking about the team without saying, hey, they lost again, they suck, type of thing. And so the whole network is doing excellent and buoyed by, of course, the Chicago Bears and how well they have been doing in the offseason. So I couldn't be happier right now, except for, the team should be playing more well, so we should be talking about them on the air and a little bit more than we do.
We know all about that, Herb. It's trying to find something fun in a pile of sad. But anyway, Herb, this year you were runner-up in the 108 tourney. Tell us a little bit about that experience and just kind of how special it was, because you came pretty darn close to winning the whole thing.
Yeah, it was actually 2023. I finished this year. I got beat by Ozzie Guillen Jr. Like, that was a first round matchup. Like, Ozzie Guillen Jr. It was like, oh my God, like a Legends kid. And then he brought like all the big guns. Like Ozzie came on, of course. But yeah, when I got to second place, I was like, I couldn't believe it. All the people who voted for me, because of my content was fine, but there was so many other good content people out there. So I was kind of like befuddled that everybody would vote for me. I know I have, people who follow me on Twitter and such, so I have an advantage there, but I was just very grateful for all the people who did support me throughout the 108 days when doing the 108 tournament. I love those people over there. They're great. And that tournament I look forward to every year in March.
Oh, absolutely. It's a White Sox start of the season staple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got that year. You came in second, Herb. I got beat in the second round.
Celeste? Yeah.
Celeste Spaghetti made a video of me getting eaten by the dragon from Shrek, and she put my head on Lord Farquaad. How am I supposed to compete with that? Making a video of me yelling at my phone about the White Sox. That's I got no leg to stand on when it comes to something like that. That was a beatdown.
Yeah, it's just a fun time to express yourself via either the video or your personality different than what it is on Twitter. And I think Celeste does a great job. I mean, I think Allie White Sox won last year. This year, I believe it was Maddie Spagnola, like all good content creators here in the Sox universe. And yeah, there's no shortage of fun when it comes to that March tournament. So I'm looking forward to next year. I don't know if I'm going to be in. We'll see. But if I am, I'm going to be trying my hardest to win it for the first time and then retire.
There you go out on top.
There you go. Zim, you got a question for Herb? Kick things off from maybe a baseball point of view?
Always. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I was expecting just to kind of come in and shoot the shit, so to say. So I didn't really come super prepared. But Herb, I mean, just tell us about what your feelings are with this season's White Sox team. I know you talk about it all the time on CHGO, but who's a surprise guy to you, and what's your thoughts on the season so far?
Well, the season's crap. It's really bad. I don't expect Pedro to make it through the rest of the season because his answers sometimes just flummox everybody, including probably his players. It doesn't have a coherent thought about why he's putting people in the spots they are. Like, Andrew Vaughn should never be in the 2-hole. He doesn't hit for power. He doesn't hit for average. He's not their best hitter. He's struggling this year. So I don't know why he keeps on putting him up there at the second spot. As far as people who have surprised me, like, I know he had a rough outing today with Eric Fetty, but he's got a 3 ERA right now. He's probably, if Garrett Crochet goes out there and throws zeros tomorrow versus the Toronto Blue Jays, maybe he'll be the all-star representative. But as we stand right now, I think it's Eric Fetty who's going to be probably representing the White Sox in the Midsummer Classic. So that surprised me. I know the accolades he had in Korea, where he won the equivalent of their Cy Young out there, but I didn't think that was going to transfer over as quickly as it did. And today he ran into a little snag, but I think he has been a very shocking surprise of how good he is, and that probably he'll be our most valuable trade chip when it comes to the August or the July deadline. So I'm looking forward to the rest of his starts. Hopefully he can keep it around this 3 ERA so the White Sox can get some good pieces back for him, or if they are so inclined, to extend him for 2 or 3 or 4 years. But because if they let that contract run out for next year, I think he'll be going out and getting some actual good money out of that. And I know his agent is Scott Boras, so good luck on the extension there.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm trying to think about trading him while he has a year and a half left on his deal, so you get the maximum return back for the White Sox.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Fetty's a guy that we've talked about a couple times on the show, because he's just been, I mean, he's second only to Garrett Crochet on the team so far this season. So, yeah, great surprise. Honestly, kind of disappointing that none of the veterans that they brought in have panned out even a little bit.
Yeah.
So I love what you have to say there. Overall, Chris Getz is the guy who brought these guys here, though.
Mm-hmm.
He put this whole thing together. What do you think about him so far? He's put together this masterclass that we've seen so far this season.
Masterclass.
It's his first year, so I'll give him a little grace of how he's doing the job, but there's major examples of him struggling on what the plan is. Like we talked about today, you have Christian Mena, and you trade him away for Dominic Fletcher. Christian Mena is 21, 22, right-handed pitcher. Dominic Fletcher's 26. And the plan was to play him at right field and let him, get all the experience he can and see if he's the guy or not. You just traded a young pitcher who could have been somebody in your rotation in the future. So you expect if you're going to trade somebody of that value, you'll have the person who's returning probably starting. They gave him like 3 weeks to start, and now he's pretty much persona non grata. He's on the team. He's just not playing. And they have a glut of outfielders. And the reason why I think he doesn't have a plan is because you signed Tommy Pham into the season. You signed Mike Clevenger into the season. And these moves could have been made in the offseason. And I know it takes two to tangle, but it doesn't seem like he had, okay, what we're going to do in 2024 is this, that, and the other. It seemed like, okay, we're going to grab at this, we're going to grab at that, we're going to grab at that, we're going to grab at this. The same thing with Robbie Grossman and all the players they got that are older, and the guy they just released, and Brad Keller. These are just, let's see if this guy works out. If he doesn't, let's DFA him. That's not a way to go through a year where you're rebuilding. Either play all veterans to get a record and trade them later, or play all youngsters to see if they can play and then see what you got next year. Because what they're doing right now, it's in between. It's not all committed to one side or the other. It's a hodgepodge of a lot of garbage in there. And the only one that they've picked up that I've seen, okay, that's a good in-season pickup, is the Tommy Pham, because he also not only does it with the average, he does it with the attitude inside the clubhouse. Yep. That should have been picked up in spring training so you can establish that in Arizona instead of him coming up here in April and then telling people what's what.
Dude, you set me up perfectly for my next question, Herb, and that's, I love that what you said about Trash and Tommy Pham kind of coming in and kind of cleaning up house. So let me ask you this. I don't know if you've been asked this or not, but do the White Sox fans have anything to get excited about, Herb? Give us an elevator pitch for this ball club turning it around in a few years, if it's even possible.
The White Sox do have a very, very positive outlook in the minors, and mostly that's pitching wise. I mean, down in the minors, you just saw Noah Schultz, a draft pick from a couple of years ago, big 6'9" lefty. He got promoted to Double-A. You have that whole Double-A staff, for the most part, is ready to go to the major leagues. You just got Jairo Ariarte from the Dylan Cease trade, along with Drew Thorpe. Both of them are dominating down there in Birmingham. Drew Thorpe is got like a sub-2 ERA. Jairo Ariarte just struck out 13 batters in Double-A. Then you have a guy you got in the Lucas Giolito, Ronaldo Lopez trade. Blanking on his name right now. Kai Bush. He was also like a mid-2s ERA right now down there in Birmingham. And the person that people talk about the most because of the Jake Berger trade is Jake Eater, who's got like a 5 ERA now in Birmingham, but I think eventually he'll be fine. And the person that the White Sox had here under staff in the minor leagues that did so well, I think he was their pitcher of the year, in Mason Adams. You have some people that are available and doing things in the minor leagues that are mostly pitchers that you can say, okay, those are all major league arms. People always say that Iriarte should be in the majors. He just needs refinement on his pitches. He needs control and command of his pitches. Drew Thorpe should be in the major leagues. If you're throwing Brad Keller into the mix, Drew Thorpe is much better than Brad Keller. And the Double-A level is cake for him, and I don't need him to go up to AAA in Charlotte in that bandbox and get hammered around. You could do that in the major leagues. And then also in AAA, you have Nastrini and Cannon, who came up earlier, which I don't know why they're pitching in AAA. As I said before, this inconsistent thing they have with veterans getting starts like Brad Keller and Mike Clevenger. Instead, you can have the same type of performance by some young people and see if they're ready for the next years, to see if you have a rotation next year that you can have be representative, because you came into this year with pretty much every single person that started this year in the rotation wasn't in the rotation last year. So you don't want to do that again. And so, yeah, and in the major league staff, of course, you have Crochet, who has 2.5 years after this before he's a free agent. So there's hope on the horizon as far as pitching. Hitting is a little bit more thin, but there are people out there. Jacob Gonzalez just got brought up to Double-A. You have other players that are much more a longer until they get up to the major leagues. But there's some hope, and if they want to, they're going to have way too many starting pitchers and relievers. They could use some of those pitchers and some of the pitchers on the current roster for trades for some position players, because we see position player-wise, there's probably 2 guys you want to keep. Luis Robert, who's on the contract for 3.5 more years after this.
Yeah.
And then maybe Brian Ramos, but he's hurt right now, and we'll see when he comes back up. But otherwise, there's a lot of nothing there except, and Corey Lee, my bad. Corey Lee, the catcher, has had a good rookie year so far. I wish he played much more over Martin Maldonado. But as far as position players, you're not going to keep DeJong. You're not going to keep Nicky Lopez. Andrew Vaughn is not good. Gavin Cheese has come back to earth. It just keeps on going. And then the worst player in baseball, Andrew Benintendi, is still here for 3 years because his contract says so, but he is terrible.
Worst contract in White Sox history so far.
Yeah, that's a case to be made. Yeah, that is saying something. Herb, if you had to guess who the top, and maybe you know because you're incredibly smart, but I didn't even realize this off the bat. If you had to guess the top 5 guys on the White Sox in WAR right now, according to Baseball Reference, what names would you guess are in that mix?
I know that most of them are pitchers, and so it's probably Crochet. I don't know if order, like Fetty, Crochet, Michael Kopech. I'm trying to think of another pitcher. Jordan Leisure, and then 5th guy I would go with Chris Flexen. That comes close. They had 3 out of 5.
You're a very, very wise man. You got 4 out of 5. Feedy leads. He has a 2.3 WAR.
Nice.
Garrett Crochet's 2, 1.3 WAR. Jordan Leisure's 3. Jared Schuster's 4, and Michael Kopech is 5. So you got 4 out of the 5 there, Herb. You mentioned Flexen. He's 9th. He's over a positive WAR, but you got Corey Lee's 6, having a great year so far in limited playing time. Fam's already up to 7, and Remillard 0.5. So, I mean, it's interesting. This team, like you said, has a whole lot of nothing, but there are some things to be excited about. I did not realize, and again, I try really hard to pay attention and be as involved in as much as I can, but I learned over the broadcast this weekend, Drew Thorpe came on Soto trade and then came to the White Sox in the Dylan Cease trade, and that kind of made me even a little more excited about him. I know this might be crazy, but the Yankees thought that of Juan Soto, that they'd get rid of Drew Thorpe. Like, I don't know, being associated with Juan Soto in my brain can never be a bad thing. Maybe it's just the Yankees fleecing people like they have done often in the past, but I don't know, being associated with Juan Soto and the Yankees, you know, the Padres thinking that of you, like, hey, we'll take you back as the main piece in the Dylan Cease trade. I don't know, that excites me a little bit. Am I crazy?
No, you're not at all. He was the minor league pitcher of the year, I believe, for the Yankees organization down with them. He dominated single A and double A with the Yankees organization. And as you were saying, the Yankees needed Juan Soto, so they're like, we have to give something up. So they gave Drew Thorpe as part of the trade. He was one of the biggest part of that. And I think the other big part was Michael King, who's in their starting rotation. But in the same vein as giving Dylan Cease to the San Diego Padres, the White Sox wanted starting pitching, and they got Iriarte, who's got a flamethrower and some filthy stuff. But Drew Thorpe has command and control that is MLB ready right now. His changeup grades out as an 80. I'm not even that type of scouting guy, but we've repeated ad nauseum. and he's striking out guys at an alarming rate. He's just filthy down there in Double-A, and when he comes up to the majors, which I believe will be soon, I don't know within this month, but it should be before or just after the trade deadline, he's going to stick on the league because he's got the command and control and the wherewithal to stick in the league, to dominate, and to do some good work in the starting rotation. So I am excited about Drew Thorpe. That is one great thing that Chris Getz did. He held on to Dylan Cease until he got his deal. Now they got other players for him. Steven Wilson, who's in the White Sox bullpen right now, he's fine. I think he'll be traded eventually by the White Sox because he's too valuable to be on a bad team. And then they got a young player in Samuel Zavala, who is no relation to Sebi, but he's a young 19-year-old left-handed power hitter who's struggling right now in single A. But like I said, he's 19, 20 years old. He'll come through. But Chris Getz got the deal he wanted. He did not panic when all the deals were done in the offseason, like the Corbin Burns move to Baltimore, or the Yankees trying to lowball him for Dylan Cease. He's like, no, I'm going to get the pitchers I want, and that Drew Thorpe is going to probably be the jewel of the trade for Dylan Cease. Even though you see Dylan Cease going out and dominating out there in San Diego, him being on the White Sox wouldn't have been good. I think you're going to get just as good a performance in Drew Thorpe's White Sox career as Dylan Cease had in his short White Sox career.
Wow. High
He's
praise.
really good.
Got me excited now, Herb.
He doesn't have a hard fastball, but his low 90s fastball and a changeup combination, he's gonna be tough for hitters to mess with.
Absolutely.
Can't wait for that.
Yeah.
Zim?
Excuse me. Well, touching on the minor league stuff, this is the second time we've come across it. So I wanna ask you about some of these guys. You know, the White Sox, they have 4 top 100 prospects now, which I think is 3 more than they had at any point over the last 3 seasons. You know, these guys it's a bright future. Noah Schultz, Drew Thorpe, Edgar Cuero, all guys that we've already talked about. What about Colson Montgomery, the number 1 prospect, the guy we're probably going to see, I'd guess sooner rather than later at this point, but what do you think about him? What would be your plan to develop him? We've talked about it a little bit on the show, but I want to hear your 2 cents.
I would say that Colson Montgomery will tell you when he's ready to come up. I wouldn't bring him up just because Paul DeYoung's currently having shortstop occupied. He's doing fine for Paul DeYoung. I wouldn't just bring up Colson Montgomery just because you either traded Paul DeYoung or something happens. I would let Colson Montgomery do as much as he can do down there in AAA. And if he shows you by August or September this year to bring him up, please bring him up and make his mistakes in the major leagues. And then after he does that, goes out to the second year or to the offseason saying, hey, these are the things I messed up. These are the things I need to improve on. These are the things I did well. So let's sharpen the stuff I'm strengthened on and pick up the stuff that I'm weak on. I think that's what Corey Lee, who was the catcher, did last year. He was with the White Sox for a brief time after the trade for Kendall Graveman, and he only had 5 hits in his limited playing time, and it didn't look like he could use the bat at all when he got up to the majors. He had good minor league stats, but he looked lost at the plate. He went back to the offseason and developed some hitting. This year, he's around 300 and catching a decent game, and he's got the number 1 pop time in Major League Baseball. So I think there's value to bringing up a young player maybe slightly before he's ready or just on the precipice of being ready, and then giving him a little Major League action at the end of the year so he can go back and see what he needs to improve on. Or if he has a ass-kickingly great September, there's maybe nothing he needs to improve on, just sharpening up those things that he did well on, so when he comes back for his real rookie year, he can just hit the ground running. And that's what I think. Colson Montgomery, I think, will be a major league starter on the White Sox by 2025. I don't know if he's going to break camp, but if he is good enough this year to make it with the team, I say bring it up.
Joe, you're muted.
I was so excited I muted myself.
Yeah, we've all done it.
I was just saying, I love it. It gets me excited for the future when there's not much to be excited about right now, but getting excited for the future for sure. Speaking of the future, Herb, topic of conversation big time in on 35th and Shields has been the pending conversation about a new stadium in the South Loop. I would be remiss if I didn't get a chance to ask you your thoughts on that and where you see that going.
I think that if the White Sox were to be like the Bears and say, hey, we're going to pay almost half of this stadium, I wouldn't like it because I want zero public dollars going to billionaire stadiums, but I would think a little bit more about it. I'm like, okay, at least they're coming to meet us halfway. Jerry's not even doing that. He's like, this is a tax. No new taxes. To me, that just means you're rolling over the taxes you already owe on guaranteed rate field, which is
right.
a persona. That's a non-starter right there for me. So yeah, Jerry, you're 87. You're worth billions of dollars. I know you want to keep that billions of dollars, but you can also get a loan. You can buy your own stadium. You could see all the teams that have done that, mostly in the NFL. They make hand over fist money. Like the LA Rams, when they bought SoFi, are making a lot of money because they have extra events, passive income they're getting from stuff that's not baseball related. And he doesn't think like that. He doesn't think the way of, hey, how can I make money when this team's not playing? And that's how teams make money, not by the gates of receipts and the concessions and the parking. They make it by Super Bowls coming in, Final Fours coming in, concerts being played at all times. And if it's in that area that they're talking about, I mean, what better show place for baseball is there than that area right there? You'll be making your money before 10 years of that stadium being built. And I know Jerry won't probably be alive. Knowing Jerry, knock on wood, he'll live until 158.
Oh, man.
But I'm not wishing his death, but he should think about the future of the White Sox, not just about himself, because what is he going to do with all the billions of dollars he's got? Michael's cool. Michael owns the Bulls, or they gave him the Bulls. Michael's fine. His family will be set up for life. The thing he needs to worry about is his legacy. When he leaves this earth, will people remember him as a good owner or a bad owner? And right now, it's definitely going towards bad owner, with most people saying, man, you won 6 championships with the Bulls, but that was Jordan. And that 1 championship with the White Sox, you never got even close back to that level either. So that might have been a fluke. I don't think that way, but people definitely think that
Sure.
Jerry Reinsdorf lucked out. And right now, he's going into the bad ownership and be thought about as a bad owner, and people will not like his name when it's brought up. Right now, like, bring up any White Sox or Bulls fan, you say Jerry Reinsdorf, like, ugh, no, bad, terrible. I wish he sells the team, type of thing. So I think this is a way that he can endear himself to White Sox fans with a gift of, hey, here's a stadium. I'm going to pay for it, or I'm going to take out a loan, and here's your stadium. I won't be around to see all of the glory, but White Sox fans, you've been struggling enough, and here's a beautiful stadium right here in the South Loop.
100%. I would say Reinsdorf is considered a bad owner. He's the winningest owner in. I think is he the winningest owner in pro sports history? He's definitely the active winningest owner.
Active.
And that's crazy. But like you said, Herb, Michael Jordan, flash in a pan, Ozzie ball. Listen, I love that team with my whole heart. I was a kid. I love that team. You say Paul Konerko, it gives me warm, fuzzy feelings. Any of those guys, Petsednik, Iguchi, Dye, I love them all. You're right. They didn't come close any other time. That was a Ozzie ball flash in the pan type year that we will always cherish. It was a great baseball team. They won 90 something games the following year. There was no extra wild card teams, so they kind of got screwed by circumstance. But, it was a good team, but it ended up being a flash. Jerry, I don't get what they're doing. It's crazy to me. I'm with you. I hope they do get a new stadium eventually, though, one that is paid for the right way. I would like to see this team, like you said, I don't know if they would get Final Fours or WrestleManias or anything like that with Soldier Field being there and other big stadiums. Wrigley Field is obviously a competitor, but maybe you could host a stadium series in the NHL or concerts or stuff like that people want to go to in that portion of the city. So it's just a shame where they're at right now. But, as long as they stay in Chicago for the most part is where my happiness would come from.
I mean, I'm sure a Winter Classic would be there. I mean,
Yeah.
think about the buildings in the background. Like, what better showplace is there than that? I know that the Winter Classic was at both Wrigley and Soldier Field in the previous times, and those look great. But I think with all the buildings in the background, where it's centrally located, you can't beat it. And like, there's a lot of things that the White Sox are not thinking about, and you've pretty much heard nothing since the Bears have like counter proposed and they're like trying to get the Chicago market for themselves. Like, if it comes down to it, the Bears or the White Sox are going to lose that every single time, because
Yep.
people will say, hey, yeah, I get that I got to pay half of the stadium for the Bears, but at least the Bears are in Chicago instead of Arlington Heights. So White Sox, you got to stay at your 30-year-old stadium, which nothing's wrong with guaranteed rate field, except for getting into guaranteed rate field. But that's not the stadium's problem. That's the security's problem.
100%. And when you talk about some of these things, I'm just curious, like, when fans kind of have this like negative perception, what about the people that say, well, the last rebuild didn't work? Yohan Moncada's a bust. Eloy Jimenez got hurt too much, and now that he's back kind of healthy for a little bit of sustained time, he can't hit. Andrew Vaughn didn't turn out to what he thought. All of them. Robert hurt all the time, other than the 1 year he was great, but he's hurt every other year. What do you say to those people who are a little kind of on the fence about this upcoming rebuild when you talk nicely about Drew Thorpe or Colson Montgomery or Noah Schultz? Well, the last guys didn't work. Why are these guys going to?
Don't blame them. I don't blame people if they're looking at this team and they're like, okay, yeah, the regime's changed from Kenny and Rick to Chris Getz, but the same owners there. It's the same thing that's going on that happened back in the past. So if you're a person that says, like, I'm not believing this, I do not blame you at all, because the White Sox haven't proved to anybody that they can actually do a rebuild correctly. Now, they had all the players and they won in 2020 when they got to the playoffs, and in 2021 when they won the AL Central, but never did they supplement the roster as it needed to be. They've always needed a right fielder. I think the last time they had a solid right fielder was Avi Garcia, and that's like 2017 Avi Garcia. They've always missed on the player they needed to get. Had an opportunity to get Bryce Harper, didn't even offer him any money. When it was time for them to maybe compete, maybe a year earlier in 2019, they could have gave him an offer, and maybe he would have taken it if he was the most money. Because now you look at his contract, it's like $33 million a year. You're like, that's a drop in the bucket. We could have afforded that. Manny Machado had a chance to get him, didn't work out. They also had a chance to go and trade for Mookie Betts, didn't go and trade for him the year of 2020 where the LA Dodgers did. And really, they didn't give up that much except for Verdugo, Connor Wong, and I think another player that didn't turn out. I think Jeter Downs.
Yep.
The White Sox had that available. And if it was only 1 year of Mookie Betts, fine. But at least you're trying to push the pedal down and win that championship, because we have seen now, in hindsight, windows are short and they close quickly. And after 22 or 21, it closed. It slammed shut. And it's done. So, yeah, if those people thinking, hey, man, I don't really think this is going to work out, even though they have all those youngsters down in the minor leagues and a lot of talent, I do not blame you, because this team hasn't proven that when it's time, and even if all those players hit, it's time to pick up some good players on the free agent market. Jerry's never going to buy a free agent player that is good. He's going to spend $75 million on the wrong free agent in Andrew Benintendi instead of spending maybe $30 million in a total contract, but getting an actual better player, a player that you can play in the lineup every day instead of Andrew Benintendi, who I'm already thinking about just eating $45+ million because he's that effing bad. He's just so terrible.
It's true. It's true. It's a shame.
He's like the worst player in Major League Baseball by WAR this year.
Yeah, that's saying something. The White Sox as a team have an have a WAR of 1 on the season, which is like so bad. But for your marquee player to be actively dragging you down in all of it, it's just plain embarrassing. So I think that's enough depression talk for tonight. We have you do this daily. We only do it weekly. I don't know what kind of masochist you are to go through all of that, but the work you do is wonderful. We love listening to what you have to say. Herb, I'm going to leave you on a lighter note. You said you just wrapped your softball game for the night. I got to know what position you play, and if you had to compare yourself to any White Sox player, within your league, you don't have to try and pretend. Yeah, you don't have to try and pretend you're terrible or amazing or whatever. Relative to your league, what's a White Sox player that you think you play like?
I play mostly second or right field, so I'm not that good. Like defense is not my thing. I'm more offensive guy. So it's hard to say what White Sox player that I am because I mostly just walk. So if I bat second in the lineup. I know people get out in softball and they're trying to hit as far as they can and hard as I can. And if that's you, all good. Be that. But I'm like, this person is an amateur. I'm set batting second, so I'm like set the table so people can get me in after I hit. So probably like a Tony Phillips. You guys remember him? Like a late '90s, early 2000s White Sox Tony Phillips, where he just gets on base and he's kind of a pest. That's what I am. Like I won't swing the bat until I get 2 strikes on me. And once I get 2 strikes, and then I'm like, he's pitching softball, so he's not going to blow me by with a 2-strike approach. I can hit the ball in bounds and get to first base pretty easily. Like today, I think I was 2 for 2 with a walk, with a couple runs scored. So that's probably the player I am. In the situation that I'm in, like if we need runs, I can definitely hit. But when we start the game, I'm trying to just get on base anytime I can and any way I can. And that's why they play me at second, because mostly there's not a ball that's going to be hit there. And if there is, I can pick it up and throw it to first. I don't have a strong arm. I can pick the ball up, jam my fingers every once in a while on 16-inch. But otherwise, I'm pretty nondescript and not really good at outfield. So they don't put me out there too tough, and they like to hide me in the field. If the people were smart, they would just hit the ball to me in second base and see if I can pick it up. That's what I would do and test me out.
I totally get it.
I test right fielders all the time. Like, oh, that right fielder doesn't look like he can catch, and like hit it over there and see if I get proven right or wrong.
Yep. No, that's my job on my team anymore. Now that I'm injured, I watch the games from the sidelines and I tell them, hey, that's the guy that can play. That's the guy that can't play. Like, that's where you want to hit it. All this, that, and the other things. So totally understand what you're saying. What's that?
What position do you play?
I was a second baseman. I filled in outfield for one game and broke my shoulder. So, hey, I made the catch.
Man.
That's not all that matters at all.
Sacrifice.
Zim went out in a blaze of glory.
Yeah. Yeah. In a 19-2 ball game. It was awesome.
Oh, wow.
Dudes.
Zim, I'm amazed. Herb, we'll keep it light for the last question. So obviously a bunch of new food items appeared at the Sox at Guaranteed Rates Field this year. What's your favorite new food item if you've had a chance to go? Have you tried anything new over there?
I have not. I went to the pre-season thing where they bring out all the new food for the media and such. So I tried a sip of the campfire milkshake, but it was out sitting for like 30, 40 minutes when I finally got a little
piece. It was mushy, huh?
Yeah, it wasn't that great. I mean, it tastes like a milkshake. It's good. $15, I wouldn't buy it. But if you're so inclined to see what it's all about, I mean, it's a experience. Might as well go up to the Vizzy View Bar and try that out. I haven't really tried any other food. I'm trying to think of the memorable stuff they put out there. They had a pretzel bun turkey sandwich that was pretty good, but those are all in like the sweet levels. Club. And the stuff that I can't get into stuff, but those were very nice. And then they have the smash burgers that they have across the street at Shy Sox Bar and Grill that I tried. That was pretty good. But smash burgers, as far as the smash burger goes, it wasn't the best because I think it's just at White Sox Park. So there's a better smash burger you can get somewhere else. But if you're just stuck at the ballpark and you want to taste the smash burger, it's fine. It works.
And Chai Sox, for people watching, Chai Sox Bar and Grill switched hands. It was owned by the Gibson's Restaurant Group. It is now run by the Chicago White Sox. So a little bit of a different experience. I've not been yet myself. But Herb, outside of the new items, do you have a go-to at the ballpark when you're going to a game?
Yeah, there is I think it's a jalapeno brat that is on the third base line. It's got coleslaw and I think it's jalapeno cheddar brat, and it's just so well made and so good. The bread is so nice and soft, and you get the heat from the jalapeno. You get the cool from the coleslaw on top. I think you get some type of like chips or fries with it,
Nice.
and it doesn't cost that much. And I like a little heat with my food. I don't like it just to be, hot and good, but I like it to be a little spicy, and it doesn't, overwhelm you with spice. And that's the thing I love to get there. Or if they have the pulled pork sandwich down the road, I think at one of the barbecue places,
Oh
it's
yeah.
fine. I think they give you like a $12 sandwich with some chips also. So it's a good deal. And then if I'm doing like root beer floats are my favorite thing. They used to cost like $7.50. I don't know what they cost now, but it was a perfect meal because the delicious root beer and the soft serve ice cream they put there, and it
Heck
was only
yeah.
$7.50. I was like, man, this is a deal. I get fed and I get my thirst quenched too. So I hope they still have the root beer floats because that is one of my favorite things when it's a hot day. I think we're going to be out there next Monday for our takeover, and I'll be looking for that first.
There you go. I can confirm, Herb, they still have the root beer float.
Oh,
Because I was there on Harry Potter night, and they were doing butterbeer floats for Harry Potter night, in addition to the root beer. So I think the butterbeer thing's gone, but you can definitely get yourself a root beer float on Monday night.
they just hit different at the ballpark. That's the only thing I'll agree with the White Sox, that they say their slogan is it's better at the ballpark. I wholeheartedly agree because watching these games at home is terrible. When I'm at the ballpark, I forget about it.
I love that.
100%. Now I'm hungry, guys. Thanks for that. Herb.
No problem.
Herb, we can't thank you enough. You've given us 40 plus minutes of your time. You are an absolute gem. You are one of my very favorite Twitter followers. I'm not just saying that. Ask Joe and Zim. I do not tell all of our guests that. I really enjoy your stuff. CHGO's rocking. I can't wait to see what my guy Mark Carmen's up to once the Bears season starts. He used to be a colleague with me at Fansided. He moved over to CHGO with you guys. And, I think you guys are all wonderful with Bedard and what the CHGO Blackhawks is doing. I'm super stoked about it. So keep up the good work. Promote yourself a little bit. What do you got coming up?
We are doing a show every day. Tomorrow we got a post-game show after the White Sox probably beat the Blue Jays because Garrett Crochet is on the bump. And then next Monday we have a takeover where we're having some of our people, our fans, who want to come out and see and talk with us, Sean and I and Vinny. We're going to be in section 147 for the Memorial Day game versus the Toronto Blue Jays. So come on out. If you guys want to check that out, it's all CHGO.com and our events page. So we got that going. And then, like I said, Monday through Friday, well, now it's Sunday through Thursday, we have a live show usually after each White Sox game those days. And if there's no game, we'll have an off-day show, which is next Thursday is our next off-day show. But pretty much it's a 60-minute show live on YouTube after the game.
Very, very good. You made me think of one 5-second question. I never met Vinny Duber in person. We obviously share the same first name. Is his mustache as glorious in person as it is on the internet?
It is. The guy, you could tell he takes care of his mustache. Probably some wax, so a little brush.
Oh, nice.
It's always, none of the hairs are out of place at any time. He trims it up. Like, I don't do that. I got a beard and I cut a little small mustache. I just shave it down so I don't have to maintain it. But yeah, it's glorious.
Love that. You got to be some kind of mustache geek to get it on that level, and I appreciate it. I want to be on that level one day. I like being a geek. So, Herb, we can't thank you enough for coming on the show. You are an absolute gem. Keep up the great work, my friend.
Thank you, gentlemen, for having me again. And anytime you guys want me on, I'll be available. And thank you for dealing with this whole car thing. It's getting a little foggy in here.
Yeah, for sure. Just be safe getting home. We don't want any bad thing. We got some weather coming in. I don't know. It looks like it's getting kind of dark. I know it's dark outside now. So
yeah,
it's real getting home there, Herb.
Appreciate it. I will do.
Get home safe, Herb. We appreciate you, and have a great night.
You too, guys. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Adios.
Guys,
thank you again.
the amazing Herb Lawrence. Make sure you give him a follow on social media at Ecknerwall. It's Lawrence spelled backwards in case you didn't figure that out already. Man, oh man, boys. Herb is the best in the business, isn't he?
Yeah, Herb's great. I like talking with Herb. I feel bad we kept him in a parking lot for how long, but man, is he a joy to talk to. Knows the minor leagues in ways that I only aspire to.
He knows it all.
I like to think I know, but then I hear him talk. I'm like, you don't know anything.
Hey.
Yeah, I bet that he and oh my goodness, I feel so guilty. I'm blanking on his name right now, but our friend from Cuba.
You talking about
Phil Selig?
Phil Selig.
Selig. Thank you. I knew I needed to know it. I feel so bad for forgetting that off the top of my head.
Cuba
now.
dugout.
Yes. I bet that those two would have a heck of a conversation, though.
I would love to hear it.
Be a fly on the wall. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know what's funny? He's not from Cuba. He's from Canada.
No, I know.
From Ottawa.
Goes to Cuba.
I
He just loves Cuban
But, like,
baseball.
Where did the kid from Ottawa, Ontario, decide, you know what I want to get really? And I'm going to ask him this next time I speak with him, actually. I talk with him moderately frequently.
We should reach out to him to come on this show again. Because we
Yeah,
need to talk
yeah,
about
it's
something.
awesome.
It's been a while since he's been on South Burbs. He's been on Crosstown a handful of times, but it's been a while since he's been on. So we should do. We're gonna make that happen. But the little boy from Ottawa decides, you know what I'm gonna love? Frickin' Cuban baseball. Players. Love it, and he goes.
Well,
he goes.
When you said Ottawa like 2 minutes ago, you said it like the most Canadian hockey voice ever.
Oh, I say it like that. It became a habit. Ottawa.
It's like you watch a lot of hockey or something.
Yeah, I'm literally on my other screen right now is a game between two Canadian teams playing Game 7. Vancouver and Edmonton playing.
You did it again.
Vancouver. Vancouver. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah,
I know how to appease the people. What else we got now that Herb is gone? Are we going to sit here and talk about the White Sox?
I was thinking about going into segments, but there's really not much to say more about Pedro. We know he stinks. I'm not going to do a Pedro's pen, so there's no sense for that.
We got to come up with a new name for that segment. Just
add an IS at the end.
I don't know.
He doesn't want to insult
really
pigs by
joke.
calling it a pen.
It's a really bad joke. Hopefully no one heard that. I apologize.
Putrid Pedro.
That's better than the joke I just made. That's for sure. We'll try to forget all about it.
Penn Island.
There you go. Pen 15. Yeah. That's throwing me back to my high school days. Holy smokes. But let's dive into our picks to click, because Vinny last week, well, it's going on 2 weeks because we canceled. Vinny picked Eloy Jimenez, and he wins because he was the most consistent out of the guys that we all picked. So congratulations, Vin. You finally won a pick to click. So let's dive into this week's picks to click.
Look, now, before we get too far into this, I just want to point out that had we left this at a 1 week contest like normal, that Brian Ramos pick was looking pretty solid for a little bit there.
Sure was.
It was. I was legit thinking about giving it to you, and then I didn't.
If it wasn't for the injury, I'd be a little more upset. But, I mean, honestly, he came on at a really good time.
He did.
He played well for the team. Tommy Pham has been carrying this team on his back. But
batting leadoff somehow. I don't get that.
Well, like Herb had mentioned, there's no rhyme or reason to any of it. We're just putting guys wherever, whenever, just to see what happens. So.
But Vin, you get first go at it. Who you taking in your pick to click?
Pick to click. I am going to go with. I'm going to take a relief pitcher. I'm going to take Jordan Leisure.
That's such a good pick, though.
Because, if you're trying to win pick to click and the team sucks ass the way that they do, why not try to get the reliever that might, by the end of the week, have a nice looking ERA, a low whip, a fair amount of strikeouts? Jordan Leisure. Let's go.
That's it. It's too bad the only moves they made were putting guys at AA and AAA this week, because otherwise it seems like just pick whoever's new to the club and they're going to do better than who's already there. So
ain't that the truth?
Well, if there's one thing I've learned, it's never pick Andrew Vaughn ever again.
I mean, we kind of tried to warn you. And what's really funny is you picked him a couple weeks ago, and then Tuesday and Wednesday, he had back-to-back really good games.
And then he just was awful.
I don't think he's had a hit since. It's been so bad.
I hope they trade him for a bag of baseballs and he goes off somewhere else.
That's just it. You have to find somebody who actually wants him in order to trade him. And that's what I think would be the most difficult part right now. I mean, this guy's only 4 years removed. Is it even that long? 3 years removed from being the number 3 overall pick?
Yeah.
3 years.
That's 19-5.
That's insane.
Oh yeah, because 20 kind of got washed away.
Yeah, because he
Yeah.
wasn't eligible to play on the taxi squad, and there was no minor league system, so he kind of got
Mhm.
screwed there. But in 21, remember Ozzie Jr. used to come on the show, and we used to all tweet together like, "Oh, Andrew Vaughn deserves to be the American League
Yeah.
or
Oh
Rookie of the
yeah,
Year."
we
used to
tried to get
tweet
a
it.
whole campaign going about it.
Yeah, and he was great.
Maybe what Andrew needs is just to like get benched every couple days, like Tony did. Maybe Tony was onto something.
I'd love to
That's
see
it.
like Baltimore or something try to fix him though. Send him to
He
Boston.
comes across to me as a dude that would go on the Yankees and just rake. Like he's got no facial hair. He fits right in. He looks like a bald baby man.
They got all those real short porches out there.
Yep.
He hits a lot of warning track balls, so that might be a great place for him.
I don't hate the idea at all. I mean, even Aaron Judge gets a little lucky with the porch now. He could hit it to Pluto. I'm not.
Oh yeah.
But he had a home run against the White Sox on Sunday yesterday. I'm like, it would have been a flyout every other ballpark. Like Andrew Vaughn, that could boost his confidence. There, I'm with you. The Yankees would be sick for him. I hated seeing Carlos Rodon without a beard, though. Hated it.
Yeah. He looks
Nasty.
funny.
Garrett Cole looks like an asshole too with no beard.
Can we talk about like that ridiculous rule in the year 2024?
Do you know the White Sox have a diet version of it?
What's that?
The White Sox have a appearance policy. It's not as strict as the Yankees, but if you remember, Google Houston Astros Dallas Keuchel and Google Chicago White Sox Dallas Keuchel. The beard was much more trimmed and kept up. They have an appearance policy on the South Side. It's not as egregious as the New York Yankees.
Huh, interesting.
But yeah, the New York Islanders have it in hockey too. They can't grow a beard until the playoffs. They're the only team in the NHL. It used to be the Devils, but the Devils GM/president became the GM/president of the Maple Leafs. They had it for a while. Then he brought it with him to the Islanders. But I mean, it's crazy.
I mean,
you're right about that.
I can get like having it ruled to be cleaned up and whatever, but to be like, no, you can't have any facial hair. It's like, what am I, a child?
PZ wonders if Cincinnati also has it too. They might actually. Now that I think about it, who on the Reds is gross?
I don't think I've ever seen anybody on the Reds.
Trevor Bauer before
Jonathan India has just the long hair, right?
Yeah.
That's
it.
That's
true.
all.
And so does Ellie De La Cruz. I think.
Yeah, you might be onto something there, PZ.
Yeah, they might actually. But the Yankees one is just because it's more noticeable with the Yankees than the Reds because the Yankees they sign a lot of free agents and make a lot of big time trades. They're bringing in guys who had facial hair elsewhere, and then they go to the Yankees and they look different. Johnny Damon, Rodon, Garrett Cole, all these guys had beards elsewhere. They come to the Yankees. The Reds, they don't sign guys the way that the Yankees do. It's a little less noticeable when it does happen. But yeah, that's actually a good point. Didn't realize that about the Reds.
And
apparently it was lifted in the late 90s, but they do kind of keep it in line, so to say, from what I'm finding through just a short Google search. But
interesting. Well, I totally forgot this was still the Pick the Click segment, and Zim gets to go next with his choice.
It's fine.
Vinny took Jordan Leisure.
Zim's going to take Dallas Keuchel's barber.
Yeah, right?
Or Dallas Keuchel's
Can
wife.
I take Shohei Ohtani's translator?
He does have a guy named Betts on his team.
I'll take Corey Lee.
Wow.
It's a good pick.
He's probably the only hitter worth anything right now. I mean,
it's the same thing as picking Leisure. By the end of the week, he could have a 310 batting average, a couple knocks. Like,
you know what? I hate it, but Corey Yolks would also be a pretty good pick this week too. But I kind of forgot about him until just now. Oh yeah, amazing game.
I can't believe I'm getting this guy as a value pick at 3, but Tommy Pham hit 435 last week, boys. He went 10 for 23 with only 2 ribbies because he's leading off, but he only scored 3 times. But still, I'm going to go with Pham Taz McTommy. I feel like that's a great pick at 3, so sign me up.
Yeah,
it's lit, fam. Sorry.
So yeah, that's
so
pick the
Vinny
click.
will no longer be on the show.
See you guys.
What's this all about? Hey, buddy, I'm not your buddy guy.
All right. So
people are like,
So
"What's
Zim's
that?" I'm like,
doing the show solo going forward.
yeah, I
What's
guess
that?
this is the Zim show now. Sorry, everybody,
"That's all right."
for so many things.
We'll make it quick, but we are going to dive into the week ahead on this week's edition of White Sox Weekly. We'll hit it real quick. And by the way, guys, we have a ton of people watching. So thank you to everyone out there tuning in. Love that you're all here. Make sure you give the Ballroom Network a like, a follow, a subscribe. You're notified every time we go live here on the network. There's so many great shows. Dan and Aldo, we're covering the Bears. You got Greg Gabriel talking Bears. We're talking White Sox. Of course, you got Vinnie talking hockey for Bar Down. There's so many great shows on this network, especially with football season not that far just around the corner. So hit that subscribe button. Let us do what we do, and you'll be notified every time we're going live. I was live with Mike North yesterday. Talking about I'm drawing a blank now who passed away. Talking about Dabney Coleman, rest in peace. So always great stuff here on the network. Don't miss it. But diving into the White Sox schedule the rest of the week, it's a tough week, boys. I think we knew that. We talked about it a couple weeks ago with this week, saying that it was like one of the gauntlets of the season. It certainly is. I got two more. One tomorrow and Wednesday against the Blue Jays. And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, a 4-game set against the Baltimore Orioles. This is a tough week, boys. I don't even know how to feel about it. I think tomorrow is the most winnable game the rest of the week with Garrett Crochet on the bump. But how do you guys feel about that stormy week ahead? No pun intended with the weather.
Zim, you want to take it first?
I mean, it's going to be a rough week. The way they've been playing lately, though, they'll probably take one or two regardless. They've been playing close enough to at least win a game here and there. So I think they're going to get blown the hell out at least once in that stretch, though, too. So it is what it is. It's kind of what you get with this team right now. Maybe we'll have some exciting moments through the week with, somebody like Corey Yolks, somebody like Tommy Pham, coming out and invigorating this team or something like that. Yeah.
Vin, I think a lot of people kind of crap on the Blue Jays, but they forget that they play in the AL East. They're 21-25, 10.5 games back. But this is not a team that we should skirt off because we all know how dangerous they can be.
Yeah, I mean, I picked them to win the World Series in the pre-show before the season started because I thought their offense would finally be matched by their pitching, and it is not looking like the case. But like you said, the AL East is just a gauntlet. Every team, and the Red Sox finished in last of that division last year. They're like hot and cold so far this year. The Yankees and Orioles are the two best teams. Listen, tomorrow, Garrett Crochet's going. I wish I was as optimistic as Herb that just be Crochet's on the mound, that they'd be able to get a win, but they're facing Kikuchi, who's 2-3, sure, but the Jays offense doesn't, show up often. He's 2-3, but he's got a 2.6 ERA, and he's a lefty. And then, you're going to go on Wednesday against the Blue Jays, and it's going to be Clevenger, who stinks, and he's going to be facing Chris Bassett, who hasn't been great, but he's still Chris Bassett. He's better than Clevenger. I think it's probably not close. And, against the White Sox, he'll probably look like Cy Young. But
Always.
Then so, if they're going to get a game out of the two, I would assume it's tomorrow, of course. But, baseball teams win here and there. The fact that they were swept by the Yankees doesn't give me good feelings going into the Baltimore series, because I think Baltimore is just as good as New York, if not better. And I know the Yankees have a slightly better record so far. We'll see where it all lands by the time October rolls around. None of the pitching matchups are available on MLB for that series so far yet, but I assume you'll see Feedy one of the times. You'll see Schuster.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be interesting. If I'm making my prediction, I don't know if that's where you want to go with this, but
go for it.
Yeah, I think they go 1-5 the rest of the way. I don't think they're going to.
I agree.
I think they probably get one of the next two against the Jays. Maybe Clevenger will have a flash in the pan like he did last year, or Garrett Crochet will win tomorrow. I'd be shocked if they won both. I just would. After what I saw today, it wasn't pretty. They're on a 4-game losing streak. Again, they went on a nice little run where they were like okay for a minute. You felt like they had a chance when they were playing, but again, Washington, Cleveland, Tampa Bay, St. Louis, they stink. Cleveland is the only team in that group that is a really good baseball team, in my opinion, and that's the series the White Sox lost out of the last handful. They lost it 4-1. It was a 4-game, or 3-1. It was a 4-game series. Toronto, the AL East, it's completely different because by our next show they'll be playing Toronto again,
Yep.
but that one will be at Guaranteed Rate Field, but it'll be after 4 against Baltimore, who is a wildly better team. Again, it's going to be interesting. I got a sweep for Baltimore in that one.
Yeah, I'm with you. And the Yankees and Baltimore are both ridiculous at home. Yankees are 16-7. Orioles are 17-10 at home. Orioles are 12-5 on the road. It's like, what is going on? These teams are like good on the road. That's how you know a team is good. So just keep that in the back of your minds, folks. But it's going to be a rough week. I don't think there's any skirting around that. But we're working our way through the gauntlet of segments. We've only got one real segment left, and then we'll just talk random stuff because let's be honest, we're done talking White Sox. But I got one more segment for us to dive into. It's this week's Guaranteed Take. It's something that I thought of, and we can talk about it. So let's dive into this week's Guaranteed Take. I was just sitting here pre-show thinking about how Eloy is like the most White Sox player of all time. Like in terms of like he's going to White Sox, like the way the verb is like White Sox are going to find a way to White Sox. And that's Eloy, right? So I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, is Eloy Jimenez destined to spend the rest of his career with the White Sox?
No.
True or false, and why?
The most White Sox thing ever will be for him to go to Atlanta or New York.
It'd be awesome.
Or San Francisco and be great for like 7 years and then come back to Chicago on a 1-year deal and be as mid as possible.
Like Manny Ramirez.
Yeah. That would be the ultimate White Sox move. So no, I do think he is exactly as you say, the most mediocre, average, anything you could ever expect.
Blown potential is what it feels like.
Well, I mean, that's how every player from that era of the White Sox feels to me. Literally every single one. There's not a single player that lived up to expectations from that 2018 to 2021, era of White Sox, so to say. Yoan Moncada fell way short.
What's going on with him, by the way?
Who cares? Luis Robert is the worst. He's a superstar in the sense that the kid who gets picked last in flag football is still on the team. Like, yeah, he's there, but like, if he makes a play, you're more surprised than excited. The list goes on, but there wasn't a single player on any of those teams that lived up to expectation, except for maybe like Tim Anderson for one season.
Timmy was solid for a few seasons, but
he's also not part of the rebuild.
Right.
Well, that's fair. The only thing that Tim Anderson held up his end of the bargain with was when the whole who's the best shortstop in Chicago argument started happening. Javi Baez got shipped to New York. So
he might be the worst player in the history of baseball.
Well, Javi Baez is
currently in current status.
He's a me first guy, and that's always been his problem, and it's why he fits in so well in Detroit. So
well, you know how good Detroit would be if he wasn't like stinking up their lineup? They would actually be really good.
Yep.
I think Robert, when he's healthy, has played well. I can't think of a time when he's been unhealthy. He's a bust because he's always hurt, like always hurt. There's been one season where he wasn't or two, but one of them was the COVID short season. And he won a Silver Slugger. He was the best hitter in the league. They played 2 full months. They played like 3 days in July in 2020. I think it was July 28th the season started or something like that. And then they played all of August and all of September. And then the postseason was in October. But in August of that COVID season, he was the best hitter in the league, certainly the best rookie. He entered September as the number one rookie, and then I think who was it that came in and took it from him in September? I forget who won Rookie of the Year in the American League in 2020. I know India won it the following year, but Robert is good when he's healthy, but he's never healthy. So yeah, I'm with you. Everybody's essentially a bust from that era. Eloy, if I could pick any team for him to go to, I literally have the list of teams in Major League Baseball up on my phone. What about the Houston Astros? They're 21-26, but they got off to that awful start. They're 8-2 in their last 10. I still, if I were a betting man, I'd still pick them to win the NL or the AL West, even though they kind of got off to that terrible start. If they keep playing hot, Altuve is going to, pick it up at some point. I think they have Yordan Alvarez. Bregman has just been atrocious this season. That's not going to continue, in my opinion.
Oh, he's starting to rake now, though.
And he's starting to get going. Exactly. So I would love to see Eloy go play for them. Philly. Every guy that goes to Philly turns into a
Philly's
monster
ridiculous
again.
this season without him.
Yeah, Harper. Even Castellanos has like good moments here and there, but
finally starting to come back.
Schwarber has been hitting amazing. Like, obviously they have Trey Turner. Their lineup is ridiculous, and if you added Eloy as like a bench guy or even as like a platoon DH, I don't know. Those are the teams that come to mind. Atlanta, there's a hole to fill there, I'm sure. But yeah, it'd be cool to see him in a National League team just absolutely rake. I would root for him personally.
Yeah, for sure.
I root for a lot of former White Sox players because, it's not that the guys aren't likable. That's not it by any means. It's that they just never live up to expectations. And I mean, never. I'm literally never. The 2005 team didn't even live up to expectations because they couldn't even do it again. So,
100%. I actually would argue I wish they were less likable.
It's fair.
I wish Jimenez was an asshole. I wish I hated Robert's guts. I don't. They're nice. They're cool dudes. They're friendly to everyone. Even Moncada. He's kind of on the quieter side, more of a silent guy, but for the most part, I've heard nothing but good things about him as a human being. Everyone seems to like him. I wish they were all assholes. I wish I hated every single one of them.
Well, that's it. The most dislikable guy from the Sox organization over the last few years, apart from, upper management and ownership, was like Keenan Middleton when he got traded. And everyone was like, how dare you? How dare you? We get to say that, not you.
Yeah.
And when me and Joe interviewed,
we weren't mad that he said it. We were mad that, he aired out the dirty laundry. None of it was inaccurate.
All of it made the White Sox, because that was part of the week that someone got shot in the stadium and then they were moving to Nashville. That was all in like a 13-day span.
Yeah, it was a brutal disgusting. 2 weeks.
Hated that. That was disgusting. I'll hate Keenan Middleton forever for that, even though, again, to your point, he was right. When Joe and I interviewed Gavin Sheets, he had nothing but solid praise for Yasmani Grandal. He took all the young guys under his wing. They played poker on the plane. It was great. Yasmani Grandal. It was also in the middle of the or just after the 2021 season where he had an MVP second half. I think his OPS in the second half was like 1,100. It was unreal what this guy was doing as an offensive catcher. But ever since then, you've heard of nothing but how much of an a-hole that he is. So kind of the opposite of, what we were saying about Robert, Moncada, Eloy especially. Super nice dude, friendly, always got a smile, the hi mom thing, all of it. I wish it worked out. I really, really, one of my all-time greatest sports pains that I think, obviously, the Devils lost the cup in 2012. It was Zach Parisi's last game as a Devil. I will never forget that pain that I felt that day. And then this rebuild failing. I honestly think that's right up there, like my least favorite sports moments of all time.
It's painful for sure.
It's horrible.
And, we're sitting here talking about like, what do we root for? What gets us excited? It's like, you guys talked a little bit about Luis Robert, and we all forget he was in the home run derby last year and he had a great first round. It was like it put some hair on our chest as White Sox fans. We were excited to bang the drum again. All I can hope for, like, there's not a lot to root for right now. I just hope Robert comes back healthy, maybe makes it to the All-Star game, and maybe gets back in the home run derby, maybe wins the whole thing. That could like make me feel a little bit of White Sox pride again. But I will tell you this: Herb got me excited for the future. Talking about the pitching, talking about some of these young guys. So if you missed our interview with Herb Lawrence, go back. He talked about everything: current players, minor league folks. I asked him to give us the elevator pitch for hope for the White Sox turning it around in a couple of years. He gave me a little bit of hope, guys.
Cautious optimism.
Yeah,
is kind of what I got out of it.
Yeah. It's more hope than I had before, that's for sure.
More hope than I have for Luis Robert to ever become a superstar, that's for sure. So.
Wow.
Very
Zim is just throwing haymakers at Luis today.
You know, it's not his fault. It's
Joe,
not.
where do you stand on this? We should be on the payroll for being a White Sox fan.
I mean, I wouldn't mind it, but for doing the show, sure. For having to talk about them every week, but no. While I think it's funny and kind of true for most fans this season, I'm still a Sox fan. I wear my hat all the time. I'm in Michigan. I've got people saying, "Oh man, they're having a rough year." I'm like, "Yeah, they are." And people wearing Cubs hats. I'm like, "Hey, at least you guys are good." But I don't know. It's always been part of me who I am. I know that I wear my hat a lot, and I'm a Sox fan through and through, because anytime my daughter sees this logo, she shouts, "Daddy's hat, Daddy's hat." Whether it's on TV, we're in a store, I have a picture on the wall. It's anywhere she sees this logo, it's Daddy's hat. So that's
so
everything.
Wholesome.
Isn't
it's
it?
So wholesome, Joe. I love that. I love that story. And you know what? I'll tell you what. We always look good. I mean, some of the Cubs logos are nice. I think their pinstripe jerseys are nice. I like the blue ones. But nobody dresses like the White Sox. That black and white, it's crisp. The South Side jersey's beautiful. The hat is insane. You see rappers and rock stars, and everyone's wearing this White Sox hat. When I'm out and about, I not in Chicago, way more White Sox hats. It's not close. You don't see outsiders wear White Sox hats, not because they love the team. They probably hate the
logo.
I hate
they don't know anything about the team, probably.
You could know nothing. You put those two hats together, pick one of these to make a fashion statement. It will be the White Sox hat 100% of the time. And I do take a little bit of pride in that. I that does go into my fandom a little bit. I love the way we look all the time.
Yeah.
It's a damn good hat.
It's funny because I just assume, I'm 1,000 miles away from Chicago. So I assume I see a White Sox hat. I make judgments about people, about whether or not they're actually fans or not, because I mean, I don't know. It's something I grew up with. Working at the hot dog stand with my mom, sports are always a topic of conversation, right? So you see somebody walking down the street with Sox hat on. As a kid, I'm thinking, hey, you're a Sox fan too. How's it going? Well, I've grown up. I realize it's more of a fashion statement. Well, this weekend I was at Target, just running around getting some stuff. See a guy in a White Sox hat, and it's a brand new crispy White Sox hat. And he was, it looked like a fashion statement. He was a larger guy, and I just assumed, he probably has no interest in any of this. And I'm wearing a Bears shirt, and I kind of forget it because I'm wearing this sling. I'm not really paying attention to the shirts that I'm wearing these days.
Sure.
He sees the shirt and he says, "Go Bears." I'm like, "Oh yeah, go Bears, go Sox." Kind of made his day a little, but it's just, we're not alone out there. There's still other fans slogging through it with us all, even 1,000 miles away from home. We're all in it together.
Love that. People that are listening to the audio are going to think I'm crazy, but my Edmonton Oilers just made it 1-0. I call them my Edmonton Oilers because the bracket I do for money, I picked them to win the whole thing. So let's go Oilers, 1-0 Oilers. Let's go.
I got to chime in another funny hat story because this happened, I think, last week to me. You guys know I wear my Sox hat probably a solid 75% of the time. But lately, the NFL draft happened. I've been wearing the Bears hat, Yep, I was in Meijer the other day, which is it's a grocery chain that they're in the Midwest. People should know what Meijer is. I forgot I was wearing a Sox hat. I'm sorry, I forgot I was wearing a Bears hat. I thought I was wearing the Sox hat, but it was a Bears hat I was wearing. I'm checking out. I'm getting my groceries. There's these two old guys. Like, there's always the old guys, that kind of sit there in Meijer, and they're just having a conversation, whatever. One guy's wearing a Cubs hat, and the other guy's wearing a Bears hat, right? And the guy points at my hat. He goes, "Yeah, man." I'm like, I forgot. I'm thinking I'm wearing a Sox hat. I'm like, oh, man, these guys freaking stink. But, man, the Bears, they had a great draft, man. I'm looking forward to the future. And your Cubs are pretty good. But these guys, they stink. And I'm walking through the parking lot, and I was like, I'm wearing a Bears hat. I just told them that the Bears stink, but they had a great draft. But the Bears are great, but these guys stink. And I'm like, oh my God, these guys think I'm insane.
They probably thought you were high on the hashish. That's awesome.
I sat in the car and I was like, I just did a face palm. I'm like, I'm wearing a Bears hat today, dude.
Neither of them had the heart to correct you. That's the funniest part about the whole
No,
thing.
I knew something was off because I was walking away and the old man gave me like the craziest look.
That's
And
funny.
I was like dead serious, like excited having a conversation. I'm like, yeah.
Well, I tell you though, I don't know if you've experienced this, Joe, now that you've moved away from the city of Chicago, but I feel that the further away you get from it's a Bears phenomena in particular. It doesn't really seem to apply to a lot of other sports teams, but the further you get away from the city they reside in, the higher the level of meatball you encounter is.
Meatball.
I mean, the meatball fans I meet in Colorado, these guys don't know Jim Harbaugh from Jim McMahon, and they are diehard through and through Bears fans. I'm like, what is the matter with you?
I will say I'm not far enough away from Chicago for that. I'm only an hour and a half. There's still Bears fans around here. There's still Lions fans too, but mostly Bears. But I hear you. I run into some meatballs.
It's just it's insane to me. So that's why I say, they probably didn't think twice about it. They just assumed, it's just another one of those meatball guys who doesn't know anything about anything.
This guy's an idiot.
As big sports fans, though, where do you guys stand on like correcting people when they say something that's just so wrong?
I do it to a point. Like I do it a little bit when the conversation starts. I don't do it on every little thing, but I'll, oh you mean this guy? Yeah. But then like the further the conversation gets and the more they keep making the mistakes, I just like shut down, like my eyes glaze over. I stop thinking altogether. I'm balancing my checkbook in my head while these people are talking to me, One of the distinct ones that I recall was in 2018, before that magical Bears season we had. The Bears came out to Denver to do joint practices with the Broncos. And there was a big conglomeration of Bears fans there. The people in front of me in line are sitting there talking about how they really don't know if they like this Ryan Pace guy who's running the team. And this is in 2018, right? It's understandable to be having that conversation in like 2020, 2021. But in 2018, like Ryan Pace was the shit. So we're having this conversation and this guy's sitting here telling, I don't know if I like that he traded Jay Cutler. I don't know if I like that he drafted a linebacker in the top 10. And it's just like,
yeah, I hear you.
Come on, guys. Come on.
Well, not that this is becoming story time or anything like that, but over the weekend, I was at a barbecue. And the subject of the Stanley Cup playoffs came up, and someone asked my brother, "Hey, who do you think's going to win it now that Boston's out?" My brother's a big Boston Bruins fan, and he goes, "Yeah, I think Florida is the team that beat the Bruins." He's like, "Yeah, I actually think Florida's going to get it done now." And someone goes, "Well, Coach Quenneville, he just really knows how to coach. He's awesome." And me and Joey kind of looked at each other, and the conversation continued. Disclaimer. Florida's like 3 coaches removed from Quenneville. He got fired because of one of the because of one of the biggest off-ice scandals in the history of the National Hockey League. He got fired because of that, and he's not allowed to coach in the league right now. He needs Commissioner Bettman's permission to come back. I think it will happen at some point, but they're 3 coaches removed from Quenneville, and the conversation like veered away a little bit, and Joey looks at me and he goes, "I just don't correct people." I busted out because he knew what I was thinking and I knew what he was thinking, and it was just the funniest moment of all time. Because like, why wouldn't you correct him? Why did you tell? Joey knew the guy. I didn't. I'm like, why didn't you tell him that Quenneville hasn't been the coach in like 3 years? But oh my god, that was very, very funny.
What happened with Quenneville again? I can't remember.
Well, there was the whole Kyle Beach, Bradley Aldridge scandal, the sexual assault, and Joel Quenneville like heard about it during the conference finals in 2010, like when they were playing the Sharks, and he didn't bring it to upper management's attention like at all. He was just focused on winning the Stanley Cup. And, they had a conversation with him in Florida about it, and everybody agreed. Kevin Cheveldayoff, the GM of the Winnipeg Jets, he was involved with the Blackhawks at that time. He was removed from Winnipeg too. So yeah, a lot of the guys who were associated with that team were just let go from their current positions. Quenneville was one of them. So, but
Wow.
just the guy said it so seriously too.
I would have looked him dead in the eye and said, "Yo, that guy hasn't coached for 3 years, bro."
He was so serious too. He's like, yeah, Florida really Quenneville knows how to coach. We're like, yeah,
He knows how to coach, but he's not
He-
currently coaching.
what he said wasn't wrong. Quenneville's one of the greatest hockey coaches of all time.
This is very
His
true.
system,
Can't
his
argue
stretch
with that.
pass defensive system was one of the greatest things I've ever seen. But he is not currently the coach of the Florida Panthers. Hasn't been. They've had 3 since then.
Uh-huh.
So
I love it, guys. We had a nice little story time here towards the end. But anything new pop culture wise or Zim? I can't imagine you have a whole lot new going on with your shoulder injury, but you got anything for me?
Got an MRI for the first time today.
Did you get to go down the skinny little claustrophobic tube?
I'm not claustrophobic. It didn't bother me at all. I almost fell asleep halfway through. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you have to admit though, it's a small little area to kind
Yeah,
of.
it's small. It was odd, right? So for anybody who hasn't had it done, because this is the first time I've ever had one. And they put headphones on you to listen to music to give you something to do while you're in there. First of all, I'm sitting there thinking this thing is full of magnets, and speakers are powered with magnets. How does this work? And I was like, I'm not going to think too hard about this. It's just going to give me a headache while they're trying to do this. So I'm like, sit back and listen to the music. And then the machine kicks on. I'm like, why did they give me music? This machine is so damn loud. I couldn't even tell what song was on half the time. So no, they never gave you music.
No,
it must just be this place, maybe, I guess. I don't know.
I was able to listen to my I've had 2 MRIs, and I was able to listen to my headphones.
Yeah.
I was able to listen, like I brought my own. It was before AirPods.
Right.
It was before AirPods. I'm sure AirPod technology is frowned upon with the whole
Probably.
frequency type deal going on, but
Right.
it was the connected headphones like that Apple used to give you with your phone back in the day. But yeah, they let me. The ones like that, exactly.
Yeah, I got a pair in the desk here. Yeah.
I bought some.
But yeah, I'm hoping I'm all done with all that kind of stuff. I might get some X-rays later this week just to confirm that everything's healing and all that. But with the move coming up, I'm trying not to have this take a whole bunch of my time. If they give me the all clear on Thursday when I go back, that'll be pretty much be it for me. And then it'll be a whole lot of nothing, Been getting out with the camera as much as I can, taking pictures of what I can, learning how to do all that one-handed. It's been real fun.
Yeah.
You made the catch.
Yeah.
You got to get one of those. You got to mount it on like a selfie stick with like the gyroscope.
Yeah, the little gimbal things. Those are cool, but they can also be not very helpful too. So
I can only imagine.
So we'll see what happens with it. Yeah, it's funny you say I made the catch, Vinny. What happened was, for anybody who saw the Trevor Story play when he injured himself earlier this season, it was a really similar situation with how I landed, fully outstretched on my arm. But instead of continuing forward with it outstretched, it actually kind of just rolled up underneath me. And I actually thought I had dropped the ball. Like I got up thinking that I had dropped the ball, and I looked down and see that it's in my glove. And that's when I realized I couldn't feel my hand and there was a problem there. But, I did make the catch after all. So I was really worried I didn't. I was going to be like so mad for so many reasons.
That's incredible.
Hey, at least you caught it, but still probably not. I mean, maybe it was worth it. I don't know.
I should have let up. I was about 20 yards away from it when I thought to myself, I should let up on this. And I made a snap decision after taking 2 more steps that like, no, I can make this catch. And I
you did.
But at what cost? Aside from that, no, not a whole lot of stuff going on, pop culture wise, even. it's kind of the slow season for a lot of that stuff. Not a lot of games coming out, not a lot of movies or shows debuting right now. You know, we're at the end of school year, beginning of summer, so kind of just preparing for summer at this point. I'm excited for it.
There you go, man. I know Vin and I are getting excited. We're about a week and a half, 2 weeks away from the Acolyte premiering. A little Star Wars.
Yep.
And Vin and
That
I both.
and NCAA. Those are the two things for me.
Yep, and NCAA, of course, college. It's
Yeah.
not NCAA anymore. I'm sorry. It's EA Sports College Football.
Yes.
NCAA
yes,
is
yes.
no longer part of the title.
Right.
Just to be clarified, so we don't get sued.
Sue me. I
know,
dare you.
I would be excited
no,
for that.
we don't dare you at all.
Yeah, no, nobody's daring you. You may sue Vinny as an individual. You may not sue the podcast. We do not condone his behavior.
That's right.
Or the Barroom Network.
But I was a little. They released the trailer, but the trailer was just looks like Madden with college.
Yeah.
I want some feature sets. I wanted to find out more about what you can do.
Well,
is the transfer portal in it? You know.
I'm sure it is, you know, considering the transfer portal was in NCAA 14. It just wasn't as robust as it is now. You know, I'm curious what kind of dynasty features will be in it as far as NIL is concerned, as far as recruitment goes. Yeah, the big bummer for me is that it was announced that it's pretty much just for next gen consoles. It doesn't look like it's going to be coming out for PC at all, which I understand why. It's difficult for companies to do those ports, and then not only to port them over, but to maintain them on an entirely different system. It's why, for the opposite reason, a lot of indie developers create games for PC that never make it to consoles. So I get it. It's frustrating. But I've still got my handy dandy copy of NCAA 14 to play for
There you
now.
go, buddy.
So
I gotta throw a Steam question at you though, because I'm not a PC guy.
sure.
Well, not a question, but I'm a huge fan, as you know, the Wario Land series, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just incredible games. There's a game that's exclusive to Steam. That's an indie game. You may or may not have heard of it. That's basically the continuance of it, but it's called Pizza Tower.
Okay, I've not heard of it.
It's
Or
supposed
I've
to
not
be.
played it, I should say.
It's supposed to be incredible and like basically like a modern version of like Wario Land. I just want it to come out on another platform, but it's only on PC.
Yes, I have heard of this game now that you mention it. I'm looking at it right now. It's got like the graphics and animation remind me of like early 2000 late 90s, early 2000s Nickelodeon.
Yes.
It's got like an Earthworm Jim kind of side scroller goofy feel to it, but yeah. I do know this game. I've looked into it. It's supposed to be like one of the greatest games of all time. So
yeah, I know, and that's why I'm like, and I love Wario Land, and it's basically like a pizza. It's a pizza maker or something. I don't know, but nonetheless, I'm just wanted to call out that it's the opposite of your situation. It's just not coming to any consoles for me.
And that's it. I will say on the EA college football front, I did see some cool animations in the game, which tells me that they did take some time with it in one way or another. The presentation is gorgeous. So at least there's that. Yeah. Really,
can you still play games with your shoulder out? You can still use your hands, right? Maybe.
I'm stuck to the controller. I cannot. It's hard to demonstrate with the nameplate in my way, but this motion, you know, the wing flapping motion is pretty difficult. Any kind of rotation of the shoulder is very difficult as well. And I'm supposed to be in a sling. I learned today it's supposed to be while I'm even asleep, but I'm supposed to be in a sling for a minimum of 3 weeks. So,
wow. I'm sorry, buddy.
You can't really cast up a shoulder, it turns out.
You made
I guess not.
Yeah. My arm is so bruised up and disgusting, man. You don't want to see it.
I don't. You're right. I don't. I was like, pardon me for a second. I'm like, yeah, but I'm like, no, I don't. You're right. But Vin, we didn't dive in too much, but are you excited for the Acolyte?
Yeah, I can't wait. It'll be a night oneer for me. Like,
oh yeah, you went to see Phantom Menace in theaters too, so you got to see the extra look at it. That fight
Yep.
scene was sweet.
So sweet, dude. I don't mess around with Star Wars. I'm late to a lot. Like I've been kind of bad with Marvel lately, and a lot of other things like games. My backlog is a little longer than it's been in
Me
quite
too,
some
man.
time. But I'll catch up. I'm not worried about catching up, especially once the Stanley Cup Finals over. I'll have a little extra free time at night to, kind of dive into some of my other interests. But with Star Wars, I don't mess around. I treat it like work almost. When the Acolyte comes out, I will watch it that night. Like
2-episode premiere.
yeah, I don't mess around with Star Wars. When The Mandalorian was coming out, like we did not miss. So, Book of Boba Fett, I mean, you know the drill. When it comes to the Star Wars stuff, I don't mess around at all.
Yeah, and Phantom Menace was also on the big
Yep.
screen for May the 4th.
So cool. Only Star Wars that came out in my lifetime that I didn't see in theaters. As
Loser.
when it first came out.
You were like 3.
I was, and that's the thing though. But I saw Attack of the Clones in theaters, and I was only 2 years older than whatever I was for Phantom Menace. So, and I obviously Revenge of the Sith in theaters, Rogue One, Episode 7, 8, 9. I loved seeing Phantom Menace in theaters. It almost gave me an extra, because when you watch movies at home, it's just a little bit different. Like they're a distraction. When you're in the movie theater,
The big screen.
phones away, the screen is huge, no distractions. It is you in the movie.
The pod
And I got
scene.
the pod racing scene, even the opening scene when Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon arrive on that planet to interrogate the Viceroy, and I'm like, this scene rules. And they come up with a plan to destroy them before they leave, but they escape, and they're stuck on Naboo at that point, and they try to get out, and they end up on Tatooine, and the rest is history. Oh my god, I want to watch it again. I'm serious. I'm going to watch it again at home soon, just so I can kind of take it in again. But man, I loved seeing it on the big screen. It was awesome.
Yeah, I got to get back to that book, The Living Force, because it's really good. I just haven't had a chance to get back to it. But yeah, I'm with you. I want to watch and the Duel of the Fates on the big screen. Good stuff.
Bam, bam. And then when
so
Darth Maul reveals the double-edged sword for the first time ever. Yeah, that's sick. Qui-Gon Jinn hit me hard too this time around.
Yeah,
it's coming, but when you're locked in, you see how influential he is on about 5 different characters, and he kind of has like a little arrogance to him. He thinks when he's got his mindset to something, he thinks he's right, and he's also got a little bit of to go with that arrogance. He's got some disobedience or defiance to him too. Would he have separated with Dooku? Would he?
If you want more on that relationship, the Obi-Wan Qui-Gon, there's a book called Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray, which I've read 4 times. It's that good. It's it's a mission that they had before. I don't remember. I think it's before Phantom Menace, I think. But it's just so good. You get all that. You get arrogant Qui-Gon. You get Master and Apprentice learning. It's good stuff, dude.
Love it. So cool.
There's too many books in so little time, but
greatest story of all time to some people. It's okay if you do. It's okay.
It's okay, Zim. We'll forgive you. But anyway, we had a lot of Star Wars talk. We talked video games, the video games.
Hey, I just found some exciting news that apparently dropped while we were having our show tonight.
Oh, what do we got?
The Kingdom Hearts collection is coming to Steam over the summer.
Nice.
All of them.
Did you hear that they're also developing that into a movie with Disney?
That will be excellent if they get it done and it's not as I don't know how to say this nicely, but it's
if
not
they don't Disney adult it.
No, if it's not as weeby as the third game was.
Fair.
I hate to say it, but it went too much from this cool Final Fantasy Disney mix-up mashup to being this anime storyline that
I'm with you.
Yeah, it got a little too into it. And I mean, the argument I've regularly heard is, what's the difference between adult animation and anime? And the difference is one of them is good.
No other way to put it.
Nice.
I mean,
That's
it's basically it's when it makes it mainstream. When it becomes mainstream, it's no longer really anime, so to say. Dragon Ball Z. I feel like Naruto is starting to get out of that anime area.
Understood.
I'm a Sailor Moon, Pokemon. Yeah.
I'm a huge Yu-Gi-Oh fan.
Yeah.
And I always said, even though I'm a huge fan, I fall into the mainstream hype of Yu-Gi-Oh. I never in my life considered it an anime. It was the same as watching SpongeBob. It was just another cartoon that I loved growing up. I never saw it as an anime, even though by definition it absolutely is.
Right.
But I'm in the same boat. I agree with you. And Naruto is becoming like that. They sell Naruto. I bought a pair of Naruto shorts at Walmart.
Look how many NFL players like rep Naruto. I mean, it's not just Jamal Williams being a weirdo. It's like a bunch of like NBA players too.
Yeah,
like,
Austin Matthews wears Naruto stuff walking into Maple Leaf Square. But
so anyway, it's just when it becomes when it goes from being part of the series to being this weird side shoot story, that's where it got weird for me. So anyway, I'll be excited to replay those once they drop.
Yeah, and I was close to buying my first video game in like many moons yesterday, Zim, but I didn't jump quick enough. But Target Circle had the Metal Gear collection on sale for $19.99 yesterday, and I was like this close, and I just didn't pull the trigger, and I missed out on it.
And at the same time, it makes me wonder how much they're taking advantage of us by just re-releasing all of these games, making sequels to all of these games, and not just making new good games.
I was really just buying it for the original NES version because I remember playing that as a kid. But
well, it's funny, Joe, you mentioned Wario Land earlier. I was at my local game shop yesterday, and they have a copy of Wario Land new in box.
The original?
I was just like, wow. Yeah.
What are they charging for that?
A lot. It was a lot. It was over $100. I don't remember exactly how much, but it was a significant number of money. It was not graded. No.
Wario's my favorite Nintendo character, and I don't know why they decided to make him into like WarioWare all the time. I want like Wario Land 4 for me is like one of the best video games of all time. I'll stand by it.
It's fair. Wario.
And why is that not on Nintendo Switch Online? I don't understand. It's the best Game Boy Advance game ever made, in my opinion. It's a hot take.
They can't make money off of it that way.
I have the ROMs everywhere. I own the game on physical Game Boy Advance, so you can't come after me, Nintendo.
Unless you dumped it yourself and put it on your own computer.
No, never did that. Ever.
I do that with all my Game Boy games now. I purchased the physical Game Boy games, all of my DS games now. DS games only last so long, so I back them up onto my computer so that should anything happen to the physical disc, I still have a digital copy. There is a way to do it with Game Boy games as well, but you need special hardware for it. It's a lot easier to do. Joe, put that away.
This is on my phone. Delta came out on iOS. Zim, I don't know if you knew that or not.
Yeah, I did see that. You don't have to sideload it anymore, right? You can just straight up download it from the App Store.
Download it right off on your phone.
I've got a few of those that I might want to, explore again. So
there it is, dude. Wario Land 4.
Yep.
Nice.
Classic. Again, it's impossible to play on a phone, but I still have it. So maybe if I pair a controller. We got really nerdy on this week's show.
So far off base.
I love it though.
This is why I always said we should just have a video game show here on the network, man. Maybe we just start ending South Burbs Hitmen an hour earlier and go into the 8-bit Hitman right after.
8-bit Hitman, or the 8-bit men.
There you go.
You might be onto something there, Zim. I do love me some classic. And by the way, Zim, we did get Super Mario Land on Nintendo Switch Online this week.
We did.
Which
we
is
did.
like one of the best Game Boy games of all time. And ironically, I think it was the first one.
Yeah. I've never been a big Mario fan as a whole, but like I acknowledge its place, and it's such an important piece of history, and I'm so glad that it's like being brought to newer generations again.
Yes.
Every 5 to 10 years, that game needs to be rolled out again and presented
And it's
to
so
the
fun.
next generation.
Yep. It's like the
Yeah.
Beatles of video games.
Yeah.
Even
yeah.
if the Beatles aren't your thing. Like my dad used to
yeah.
always say, my dad played the drums in rock bands, loved music his whole life. I'm not the biggest Beatles guy, but like without them, none of this would be around. I'm like, fair. Good point.
Yeah. And these kids playing it on Nintendo Switch Online don't ever have to fight with the light on their Game Boy.
Oh my God. I had the light thing.
The green one? Yeah, so did I.
Yeah, I had a purple one.
Yeah.
I think I have an original green Game Boy around here somewhere. Zim's going to find his right now.
Yeah, Zim has his still.
He's got his one arm trying. Oh, he's
It's what it looked like when you were trying to play under the streetlights.
Oh,
You're in the
yep.
car.
Yep.
yeah.
That's true.
So modern kids will never know that struggle. I also
No.
have that on my phone. But again, that requires some precision as well for some of that platforming in that game, as everyone knows.
Yeah.
That one
Wow.
level with the rocky things and like Stonehenge was the craziest level.
Love that.
We
Mom,
got-
drive in the right lane. I can't see my Game Boy.
Yeah.
I love
I
that
keep
we have
my
like
advance right here.
there you go. I love
That
it.
way I can plug it into my GameCube when I play my Pokemon games.
There you go.
Because I play all my games on the Game Boy player anymore.
I love that we're hitting the peak of our viewership as we're talking video games at the end of the show.
Hell yeah.
Joe, did I ever show you what I picked up for my birthday?
Oh, you did show me that. That's awesome.
Beautiful Joe 1 and 2.
It's because of me, isn't it?
No, it's because they're awesome games.
I know. I honestly, I remember playing 1. I know I played 2, but I remember 1 because I just loved it so much.
The second one was not quite as good, but it was like 3 times as long, so it kind of made up for it. Because the first one was
Short.
Short. It was like 30 hours, which at that point in time was actually a pretty decent story game.
Was it really 30 hours?
Something like that. Let's see.
It just shows me how much.
How long to beat.com.
It just shows me how my time differed back in the day when I had less priorities in life.
Ain't
Yeah.
that the truth?
It felt like it was 20 minutes. Well, what is short is Super Mario Land.
Main story was only 8 hours. Completionist is what I was thinking of. It's like 22 hours.
Okay, well, I can assure you I didn't do completionist. I'm not the completionist gamer. I just like to beat the story. I know that's kind of lame. Some people say that about me, but oh well.
Huh. I guess Beautiful Joe Beautiful Joe 2 wasn't really that much longer. I was always under the impression that it was. But, still a good game.
There you go. See, you guys get all your White Sox baseball talk. The first 45 minutes of the show, we interviewed the amazing Herb Lawrence. If you missed it, you can go back and check it out. As soon as we get off the air, it'll be available on YouTube. The podcast will be everywhere you can find podcasts. And we talked a little bit of White Sox after that and Star Wars and video games and you name it. We had some fun. But guys, we're at the hour and 43 mark. Let's start doing some shout outs so we can get out of here before 2 hours. Steven Zim Zimmerman, we'll lead off with you. What do you got for shout outs, my man?
Yeah, just a big shout out to everybody. Big shout out to my teammate Ryan, who got married this weekend. It was an awesome time. He and his new wife are on an excellent honeymoon out in Louisville right now, enjoying some Kentucky whiskey, I'm sure. So,
Of course.
yeah, big shout out to those guys, the rest of my softball team who've really helped keep my spirits up through the injury and everything. As well as the family, making big life changes still. Can't be doing it without any of them. You guys may not see it in my background, but you'll see it sooner or later. Yeah. So I think that's it this week. It's just short, sweet, to the point. Big shout out to you guys and to Aldo for the network hosting all of us.
Heck yeah, man. Appreciate it, Zim. Vinny, you're up next, my man.
My number one shout out is always my Katie. I love you very much. Thank you for everything. And I'm also going to give an extra special shout out as well to Ryan Nugent Hopkins, who just gave the Edmonton Oilers a 3-0 lead. That power play is incredible. Let's go, Oil.
Always root for Edmonton because they drafted my creative player in NHL 19 or whatever it was.
I love that. You know,
Wow.
I know like half
rooting-
the team just because of that.
Rooting for Edmonton right now is like if Mike Trout got in the playoffs in his prime, and like you're rooting for you want to see the greats do. Connor McDavid.
Is that supposed to be impressive?
It's time to win that Stanley Cup.
Remember when Mike Trout was supposed to be like the face of the MLB and nobody gave a shit? And then like in a week, Shohei Ohtani blew him off the planet.
Yep. Yep.
That's
It
what
sounds-
a superstar is. So,
You know, the same thing existed in baseball with Ohtani and Trout being on the same team. It exists in hockey right now. 2 of the 3 or 4 best players in the league on one team struggling to like win the cup, except this time in hockey, they might get it done.
yeah.
At least they make the playoffs now.
I like it, man. Vin, is that the tail end of your shout out?
That's it.
Awesome, man. Well, I'll take things, and before anything, I'll shout out our amazing guest, the amazing Herb Lawrence. Huge shout out for him for giving us 45 minutes of his time. Great stuff. Make sure you follow him at Ecknerwall on social media and check him out on CHGO. So much good stuff. Herb is the man. On top of that, amazing shout out, of course, as usual, to my beautiful wife, Catherine. I love you very much. My 2-year-old daughter, Audrey, you're just the funniest, most amazing little thing ever. We went to the beach this weekend. She had a ball. We went on the carousel here in Silver Beach. And now all she'll do is talk about the carousel. And there's like a Curious Kids Museum here in town. And she just had an absolute ball. So it was so fun getting to see her do all that. Watching her grow up has just been so amazing. I can't wait for the ride. Of course, another shout out to my Great Dane Maverick. You're insane. I love you. So I'm sure I'll be going to see you snoring in the other room here any minute now. And Aldo Gandia, the barkeeper, huge shout out for letting him do what we do. Also want to shout out the amazing Mike North, and somebody big just died. Him and I talked about Dabney Coleman yesterday. Of course, there's been so many celebrities over the course of the year. So check out that show. We have a lot of fun doing that. One of these days, Jimmy Carter is going to pass away because he's been on hospice for a year. We've been having that show on standby for over a year. So it's going to happen one of these days.
Are you going to redo it?
Oh, absolutely. Mike North and Aldo did it before I jumped on the show.
Yeah. Okay. I was just seeing
So
if you were going to.
There's zero chance that we could use it because Mike North looks totally different and Aldo looks totally different. Not to mention Aldo doesn't host the show alongside Mike anymore. So obviously I'm sure Aldo would be available, but
I want to watch the old one knowing he lived an extra year.
I got to ask Aldo if it's out there.
Oh, it's there somewhere. I know it is.
Maybe I can go through the archives and find it, but that's just so funny that this guy just won't die. Did you see him at his wife's funeral?
Yeah, terrible.
You ever see the Crypt Keeper from Tales from the Crypt?
Yeah.
That's what Jimmy Carter looked like. And no disrespect to Jimmy Carter.
No, of course not.
This is a man that's somehow still kicking it, but that show is going to happen one of these days, I promise. And then Mike talked about Gene Hackman and how bad he looks the other day, so I'm sure he's next. Mike probably asked him in the process, but anyway, shout out to Mike North and BB North, great people. And that's all I got, boys. Let's call it. We'll put a bow around this show. It's been a lot of fun. We'll see what happens next week. Maybe this team will win more than a game, but I doubt it. Appreciate you. Also want to shout out both of you guys. You guys are awesome. I love talking ball with you guys. It's good to have the band back together. And on that note, it's time to get out of here. Time to escape. Kind of go home and, well, I'm home, but time to go to bed and sneak away at a decent hour. But as always, for the South Burbs Hitmen, I'm Joe Mandel. That is Steven Zim Zimmerman. And this is Vinnie Parisi. The White Sox may stink. They may be impossibly tough to watch, but they show glimpses of fun. And at the end of the day, as Herb told us today, there is hope on the horizon. There's young pitching. There's young prospects. all hope is not lost, folks. So always, no matter what, even when they stink, even when eventually they're good, let's go White Sox, and we'll see you right back here next week. See you guys soon. Have a great week.
Go Oil.